So welcome back to the vlog again, guys. The exhaust pipe has finally landed here and I've just opened the package. You can check it out. So here's the new exhaust pipe. Now this is the OEM Suzuki's exhaust pipe. I'll show you the part number. So the exact part number for the exhaust is right around here. It's 14260M70C70. So this cost me around 2,900 rupees, and including shipping it came around 3,100 rupees. So yeah, so that's the exhaust. This is actually the exhaust mid pipe. I'll definitely provide the links for this item in the description below so you can purchase it if you want. Now obviously there are cheaper options to this OEM exhaust, and that costs just half this price, that is around 1,500 rupees. Including shipping it will cost you around 1,700. This OEM exhaust is almost double the price at 3,100 rupees. So this is how the other side of the exhaust looks like. So I removed the muffler a few days back. This is the original muffler. I didn't purchase it new. I'm just reusing it again because there's no issue with this muffler. It's only the mid-pipe exhaust that was the problem for me, so I just purchased a new one for that. Now I'll show you what other things do you need for this DIY. So the second thing that you need for this DIY is this exhaust gasket. Now it's made of some kind of cardboard material, and you can't get this online, nor can you get it in any automobile stores. If you have a good mechanic, they'll already have a template for this, so they can actually make it for you. I got it made by my own mechanic. So this gasket actually goes on either ends of the exhaust, one on that end and one on this end. Now since it's pretty thin, I'll be using two gaskets on one end and another two gaskets on the other end. So each gasket cost me around 40 rupees. I bought 4 gaskets. So this cardboard material is actually more than enough, but it's obviously use and throw. You'll have to use it once and you can't reuse it the next time. You'll have to make another one like this again. Thirdly, you'll need a 12mm spanner and you'll need a 12mm socket wrench like this. Fourthly, I bought a rubber bush also. I saw one of the bushes were worn out under, so I just ordered these as well. And then I got some 12mm nuts and bolts. I just ordered a pair of nuts and bolts because the old nuts and bolts were rusted. So I also got some spacers, and these spacers actually go inside this rubber bush. It might not be necessary, I just bought it as a precaution. So the next part of the DIY, I'll be lifting up the car and placing the jack stands inside, and I'll be removing the mid-pipe exhaust, and I'll show you in what kind of condition it is in. So after lifting the car, the next step is to actually remove the old exhaust pipe from the car. So I'll show you how to remove that right now. Now before we get to the next step, a sub to the channel would be fantastic. A lot of effort goes into making this DIY videos. So please do support the channel by subscribing. Now let's get to the next step. So the first step to remove the mid-pipe exhaust is to remove the two 12mm nuts and bolts that are here on this end of the exhaust. Secondly, right under here, the exhaust is again held at a midpoint with that bush over there. You need to remove that bush, or you can remove the exhaust by removing again another 12mm bolt from there. So once you remove the bolt holding that bush, the bush and the exhaust will come out. And then I tied the other end with the help of a zip tie, so I'll just cut that off and remove the exhaust. That's it. So just 2 points. First is remove the two 12mm bolts there. Then remove another 12mm bolt near the bush over here, and that's it. This exhaust is supposed to come out. I made a mistake. You'll actually need a 9x16mm socket wrench to remove the first 2 bolts. It is not 12mm like I mentioned before. So I finally got the old exhaust out. That's the old exhaust, and that's so gross over there. It's actually a dead rat. It somehow got into my exhaust system and then it suffocated and died due to carbon monoxide. It deserves that. And this end of the exhaust is already rusted and gone. It should actually look something like that, where you can actually use the bolt to screw it on. So that end is actually rusted off and gone. There are a lot of holes on this exhaust. Yeah, and the gasket that was used before, it's useless. It's totally gone. You can't reuse it. That's the reason why I ordered a new set of gaskets. Now actually I have to talk about this old exhaust. This was actually non-OEM exhaust and it cost me around 850 rupees including shipping. Back in the day OEM exhaust costed around 1500, including shipping. I think it would have costed around 1800 rupees, but I still went with the non-OEM ones, and these non-OEM exhaust actually lasted for about 6 to 7 years. Whereas the OEM exhaust lasted for around 11 to 12 years. So obviously if you pay more, you actually get better quality with the OEM exhaust. And also with these old cars, you're going to stop getting OEM products, and this might just be the last few years where you get the OEM products. And that is the reason why I didn't look at the money and purchased the OEM exhaust for around 3100 rupees including shipping, and that obviously should last more. Now if you plan to sell your Esteem, you can go with the non-OEM exhaust itself, so that does not matter. But if you're never going to sell your Esteem like me, definitely it's better to go with the OEM exhaust, because you'll be saving a lot in labor cost, refitting and fitting these exhaust and other stuffs. So always go with the OEM products for your Esteem or any other vehicle. The quality of materials used on the OEM products are way better. Learned it with the ORVM. I purchased the non-OEM ORVM and it's really bad. It really sucks. I should have just paid a bit more and got the OEM ORVM mirrors. So that was a mistake, lesson learned. So we got the OEM exhaust and right now we are going to install it. So for all the bushes, you'll need the 12mm socket wrench to remove the bolt. I just removed this from the middle portion of the exhaust. First you'll have to remove the exhaust and later you can remove the rubber bush freely. I'll be replacing this rubber bush because I think it's slightly worn out, not that much. I can reuse it, but I'm definitely going to use the new rubber bush for this DIY. So this is how the new rubber bush looks like on the right side. So first thing is to install the bush on the middle portion. I'll show you where to install it. And this will come facing towards you, and this mark will come behind. The exhaust from the header ends here, and then the bush goes there at the midpoint. So this is where the new bush should go. It will remain like this, marked T as coming on top, and the other portion will come down. Just have to tighten this one bolt over here and it should be held in place. So let's do that right now. Tighten it with the help of the 12mm socket wrench. Now the next step would be to install the brand new exhaust on the car. Now to do that, it already comes with the bolt, so I don't need to reuse the old bolts. I'm just going to use new nuts on it. I just purchased these. I'll leave the links in the description below. These look much cooler. Let's install the gasket on this side of the exhaust. I'm going to just install one gasket on the exhaust because I think if I use two, I won't have enough space to tighten the nut on it. So I'm just going to use one gasket. See, just this one. So the 13mm bolt is the one that tightens the bush to the exhaust. So you need to use a 13mm wrench like this. The bolt that fits the bush to the body of the car is a 12mm bolt. So just keep that in mind. Next you need to tighten these two nuts. So the first portion of fitting the exhaust is done. Now the next portion is towards the other end where you need to fit the muffler. So the muffler will actually be bolted onto these 3 points. So one here, 2 there and 3 there. Once the muffler is bolted onto place, then we'll tighten it with the exhaust end over here. Now don't tighten the bolts just yet. You'll have to connect the muffler to the exhaust, then tighten these three 12mm bolts. So there's actually a gap here between the muffler and silencer, so definitely I'll need to use two gaskets. So all the nuts and bolts are tightened properly, and so this is how the new exhaust looks like under the vehicle. I'll show the other end as well. I used two gaskets here to tighten the muffler to the exhaust. I felt there was some slight gap between the two, but even one would have sufficed because while you tightened it, it gripped nicely. So maybe just one gasket is also enough at this spot. Just for safety precaution, I used two, so that there's no exhaust leak. So this is how the new exhaust pipe looks like under the car. Looks amazing. Now before we lower the car, just put the car in neutral and start the engine. Make sure that there's no exhaust leaks anywhere. So that's what we're going to do now in this step. So that's it for this DIY, guys. It was fairly simple. It's around 1 to 2 hours job, and you can do it alone, but it's a bit risky. You need to make sure that you jack up the car safely. Since it's an old car, most of the iron bits are on the underside of the vehicle are rusted, so you need to be very careful while doing this work. If you mount the jack stands on the wrong point, there are chances that the car might come down while you're working under it, so please be careful about that. Apart from that, this DIY was fairly simple and easy. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you found it useful, please do hit the like button. Do consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't done already. And until next time, this is Stan signing out. Bye-bye.